All right, so it's 102. Let's get started. As people continue to join, we will welcome them and make sure that they are all aligned. So, hello, everybody. Welcome to the ransomware webinar. My name's Beverly Wilkes. I'm the Senior Product Marketing Manager here at Bell. And for today's webinar, Breaking the Ransomware Kill Chain from Access to Recovery. This is going to be a nice, great conversation where we're really going to dive into the key steps that you can take to deal with a ransomware incident. And I'm joined by the smartest man I know, James Miller, cybersecurity product and marketing leader here at Bell, and he is going to be taking us through this great webinar. So we know that taking your time out of your day to join us is something that, and we appreciate you being here. So James, I'm going to turn over the floor to you. Welcome to the webinar. Over to you.
Thanks very much, Beverly. That's one of the best introductions I think I've ever had.
Perfect.
Welcome,
I'm going to go on mute as well.
No worries. Welcome, everyone. I'm excited that you're here today, and I am very much looking forward to have this talk with you about ransomware, the kill chain, and how to break it. It's one of the most invasive and the most incestuous type of attack that we're facing now in our business environment as well as public sector environment. Is just an insidious malware that isn't going away. So we want to be able to highlight this, tell you the origins, give you what we call the 3 R's of ransomware, since I believe it's important to never stop going to school, and then give you some very real world examples as well as clear advice on how each of those R's can help you with ransomware prevention in your own daily lives at work. So I'm going to share the presentation.
While you're doing that, James, if anybody has any questions or comments, don't be afraid to use the chat box, which is right there on the right-hand side, and the icon is the little icon with the question mark in it, and then we'll be able to answer your questions. Oh, there you are, James.
Great. So as Beverly said, I am the cybersecurity product and marketing leader at Bell Stratagem for what we're calling the Bell Stratagem Security Center of Excellence. And I look after not only marketing communications, but also the entire product team, putting together all of our excellent and innovative, cutting edge products that we are taking to market. But let's just jump right into here. As I said, we'll go from the origins to what's the latest. Why ransomware looks to be winning, and in statistics is winning in certain industries and companies around the world. And then what is the kill chain? Everyone talks about it, but we're going to go through it. How do you break it? And I believe in order to break it, you need to know what we're calling the 3 R's of ransomware. And then we'll talk about using those 3 R's in modern containment methods as well as a real world example. And then we'll sum it all up for you. So the origins and evolution. At its base, ransomware is a malicious software. Whether some people call a virus, a malware, an attack, but it is a malicious software. However, it's designed to block access to systems and data. So you cannot get to any of your critical files, to sections of your company. You have been locked out. And honestly, when it started, people saw it more of a nuisance And they thought that readiness against ransomware was making sure your files are backed up and you have a good restore point. And honestly, when we saw ransomware appear, it was $300 that they wanted. It was very small, and it also took a long time to infiltrate data systems. So days, if it was a good ransomware, weeks, if it was standard. But now it's become very fast targeted with the help of AI, which we'll get into, system that can be sprayed across many vectors, many companies all at a time. And not only can it take control faster than ever, we're now talking minutes to an hour, where we were talking days and weeks. We are now seeing another threat, which is the organizations in question can exfiltrate the data away from your company or from your private sector department, and they can auction it off. So they can double ransomware you. They can ask for money, usually in the form of cryptocurrency because it's untraceable, to unlock your data, but then another ransom so that your data doesn't go on the auction block, get released to the public, go on the black market. So when you think about it, it's really a hostage situation. We have a group of threat actors who basically take your data and take it away from you. They put it in their own vault, they have the lock. And as a result, your data is held hostage. And it's no different than we've seen in the news or on TV, where you have hostage negotiation and sometimes pay a fee for the hostage crisis to end. And it's getting more and more dangerous now that not only can ransomware be described as malicious software, it is now a business model, as ransomware as a service is the latest proliferation of the malware, where very untrained starting out threat actors can act as cyber criminal organizations by paying larger organizations the as a service fee. And so not only are we saying that it is a malicious software, now ransomware is big business for the cyber criminals. So once we have a ransomware attack, well, I've mentioned the double extortion. They'll extort to get your data unlocked, and then if they have used malicious means to exfiltrate the data quickly, then they'll extort to give you back your data. We've seen many times in the news, supply chain is one of the ways they can get in. So there are weak links. There are always some subroutine that is probably not up to code or up to governance with the way that supply chain compliance works and best practices. And that is a classic way for them to get the malware into the business. And it's a business disruption. Not only is it a hostage situation, no one can work, no one can do e-business, invoices aren't going out, payments aren't coming in. It's downtime on top of what could be a double extortion hostage situation. And then when customers lose faith, right, we know that regulatory steps in. So there are reputation damage, there are fines, there are a lot of really damages that cannot be quantified alone in the extortion fees that may be paid. The damages to the business and to fines that need to be paid can really be of a greater magnitude than the initial ransomware fee could ever be. So now we've gone from 2013, CryptoLocker was very small, and it had basically could compromise individual systems. You had the time, as I mentioned before, to shut it down. If you had a traditional IT shop, maybe a SOC working with IT, there was time to get at it before it got bad, and maybe some backups and some restores and taking a PC offline would basically take care of the situation. Then we see that in 2015, organizations got involved. They really worked on the ransomware to initiate greater spread, to initiate greater speeds with SamSam and others along the way. But as I said, I think that 2017 was a real game changer, because I always say there are three threat actors you always have to worry about: the cyber criminal, the hacktivist, who does it for social reasons and maybe not for crime, and then nation states. And nation states enter the ransomware realm with Lazarus. And Lazarus created greater ransomwares that are now really hours for down from days. And then the velocity and the spread increases over the entire breadth of the organization, as well as the organizations that they can attack at once. With Wizard Spider, Ryuk down to under 2 hours is one of its claim to fames. And then now, not only are we seeing AI increase the speed to under an hour, to minutes, we are also seeing the massive scale of ransomware because of ransomware as a service. And having the AI in the malware and then putting it on the market means, as I said, very low-tech threat actors can now be very dangerous organizations to deal with. And Canada is not immune. We're not even near the bottom. We're second on the list in 2024 for targets from these threat organizations, as well as looking at a CRA stat, 73% reported that they had their data exfiltrated, 79% paid the ransom. And now we're talking 25,000 in cryptocurrency equivalent. But that was the start. Payments can go up to a lot more than that. And you never know if they have another copy when your data gets back to you, especially if it's been exfiltrated. So you never know. It's a ticking time bomb whether that information will ever be released. And it's all due to this, the ransomware kill chain. So what is it? It happens from some access to your system. And honestly, 71% of the methods of gaining access have nothing to do with malware yet. They'll do it through stolen credentials. They'll do it through phishing campaigns with your employee base. They'll find natural exploits in Windows and other software that's common to most organizations and find a way in that way. Once they're in, then they execute on the malware. So they've established it and they've dropped a payload. That doesn't mean ransomware has occurred, but the payload exists inside the network. And that allows them in the background to start gaining access and escalating their privilege so that they look like administrators, they look like the top credentials at your company that can go across all systems and look at all data. And then they start to move laterally from not only critical data systems, but across networks into other systems. And then they've got control of all your data. And the ransomware note has not been on your network yet. This is all happening in the background, which gives them the perfect opportunity to exfiltrate the data. And with AI, again, this can happen in less than an hour. We're talking minutes, where we were talking days and weeks. Finally, after they've done all of this, they will deploy the malware. And at that point, they will show their hand. They'll show and be known and lock everyone out of the system. And at that point, that is when you get the true business disruption. And they have the data, they've probably exfiltrated it, and you can't get to it on your network. And your business, no matter what it is, healthcare, public sector, private, manufacturing, it's down at that point. So that is the chain. But we said we're going to help you break the chain. And it can be broken in different areas. There's not one magic bullet to breaking the chain. But the 3 R's will definitely help. I've mentioned them quite a bit. And we start with readiness. And that can help break it at the source if you're ready for a ransomware attack in many ways. The second is response. And that is able to break the chain by responding quickly enough. Now, in today's world, that response is going to take form not in taking a PC offline or really looking at the backup restore points. This is actually having a top endpoint detection and response solution and having visibility. And not only having visibility, but having the ability to automate when the visibility sees actions that are definitely malicious in nature or have that look of even a zero-day exploit. And that's where remediation begins. And in today's world, when we talk remediation, we're talking about automated quarantine, having the EDR work with visibility tools, with automation tools to stop everything so that we finally have the last part of remediation, which is having a trained staff that is expert in their field, trained on the latest systems and the latest threats, and they can go in and not only remediate by taking any last steps to clean out the malware from the automation, from the quarantines, but also to start the cycle over and work with companies, whether they're individuals in your own organization or if they are MSSPs like Bell Stratagem, to work with you to relook at readiness so that we have any holes patched, we're getting better governance and moving to better response, and the cycle begins again. And those are the 3 R's that I've been talking about. And we'll go into each one in detail. So when we talk readiness, definitely security governance is at the top. So that is a governance program to not only look at systems, best practices, but also to look at the employee base and what training they need to do their job properly, but also safely. And that can lead to anti-phishing testing, social engineering training, can also look at investing in working with an outside firm to do red team testing, purple team testing, to have the awareness of what your posture is. And that's key to knowing what to do next, because you can't respond if you don't know the ready state of what you're responding to. And that will include not only having a firewall, but having the latest next gen technology in a firewall, in an EDR, to stop them before they get in, and also to protect the critical data. So when they try to grab it, the door is locked and they can't get in. And then to make sure end to end, you're covered with visibility of some kind with SIM and SOAR deployments. And that gives you the visibility, but the ability to automate and orchestrate responses with playbooks and have real, meaningful, automated containment within minutes. And then training, not only for the staff, but for the security teams, and make sure they don't become stale. AI is not going to get stale. Threat actors aren't going to get stale. And the business model that ransomware has become is only going to evolve. So we need to stay ahead of it. And then we go into response. So a lot of companies have a lot of what I call logos on their security environment. It's not about investing in one company anymore like we used to. Everybody wants best in breed. And that can mean up to 70 different security logos, depending on the size of the company, maybe more. And that's okay, but we want best of breed to be integrated. And that means that they need to be in sync and working together using some method in order to show the entire network and show any detecting threats coming in. As I mentioned before, red and purple teaming are definitely recommended for all fine tuning. And that is where remediation and response start to mesh together. Not only have you gotten some systems, but now in responding, the teaming that you do with professionals is going to show if your solutions are truly integrated and in sync. We always recommend a microsegmentation policy so that with the right tools, they can't cross lateral movement like they used to. And as I said, 71% of the ransomware is getting in through exposed areas that they don't even have to use malware to enter. So we are looking at modern day SASE solutions, getting rid of traditional VPN, because we're aware the hybrid workforce isn't going away. So we need to have those solutions there to definitely protect the remote user, but also protect the company from remote infiltration. And a key to the response, a table stake that you cannot go without, is of course 724 365 coverage. It's absolutely key in all response. Even if you have the best in automation, you need a workforce that is always up, always on. And finally, remediation. You have to have everything in sync, as I mentioned. That's great for visibility, but the remediation comes from having real automated playbooks that will not only see a threat, but contain the threat, and then work with the EDR in a complete ecosystem so that the EDR is doing its job and quarantining anything that could take control of any critical data. That can get stale, and it can get old, and we need to make sure that doesn't happen by having the proper vulnerability management on all systems and investing in a threat intel that will keep everything up to date and keep everyone informed of the latest zero-day activity. And then we definitely have to have that threat hunting and incident response, and that comes from a trained security workforce, as I mentioned. It is definitely why we want to have experts. And then when we get the experts, we want to invest in training for those experts. And that all comes from budget. So everything I've explained can get very pricey very fast. So I know that budgets are still key, especially in 2025. We need to look at how we can afford all of it, or at least the most important parts of it. As I stated a few times, it's faster than ever. And as a result, if you can imagine, once an alert goes off and the security force starts to respond, the Security Operations Center, the CIC, whatever your organization calls it, when they respond manually, they don't have that much time. And if they can't get to it, as I said, within minutes, the ransomware will win. So we don't want traditional SOCs wasting precious time when they could have the right tools for the job. The 3 R's are not just R's, they are key methodologies, but methodologies need to evolve. And that evolution is automated containment using SOAR playbooks, AI, and everybody thinks that Gen AI is a threat, but it is also the way we protect against threats. And the leading manufacturers have large language models built into very intelligent AIs that are now protecting the workforce and alerting faster than ever and able to respond and quarantine faster than any SOC team could manually. And then if budget dictates that you may not be able to do all of this in-house, definitely look to a partner who's got SOAR expertise, playbook expertise, that ability to know the latest AIs that will offer real value and definitely real world advantages in security, and not just that term of we have an AI to help you with. There are many organizations, Bell Stratagem being one, that can help protect and work with you as a true partner and not just a traditional outsourcer in order to ensure that you're protected against the latest threats. And that is the secret sauce to our what I've been calling the Bell Stratagem Center of Excellence and our automated containment solution. And it's all key to what I said earlier about having the best of breed, but have it integrated, have it in sync. Bell Stratagem has a proven methodology of creating what we've called the cyber mesh. Everything's in sync, throwing a mesh over the entire network from firewall to EDR. And that mesh allows us to see multiple vectors, multiple entry points, multiple ways that threat actors could be on a network. And it comes from not only having all of these systems in tune and in sync, but having a leading SIM and having that SIM work as the visibility key that connects all the systems together. It's quarterbacking all the responses across the entire network. And then having a SOAR that is tuned to automation, but also playbooks for response and containment are key. And then we have AI-driven detection working on top of everything that we've built in the mesh, so that AI is highlighting anything on the network faster than ever through that threat intelligence and vulnerability management. And then the automated incident playbook is that key ingredient that catches the threat and contains it before human eyes can even see it. And I wanted to highlight that this is not just theory that I'm talking about. We do this every day, and we've done it in the real world. And this is one of our cases that really happened at our security operations center. And it all started with ransomware finding a vulnerability in the RDP, the remote desktop protocol. And its service was exposed to the internet. It's there to allow remote access. And so it was able to expose a vulnerability to penetrate into the system. Using brute force, again, not a malware, but a methodology, they were able to brute force the local admin password, and that's when they started to gain access. At that point in the chain, they've entered the system. So now they want to launch the payload. And that is where Bell Stratagem's cyber mesh was key, because it was running on that server, but across the entire network. And all servers, laptops, any sources of critical data had a leading EDR with leading AI capability on that server, but also on anything they needed to leap to do any kind of lateral movement. So the payload was never successfully launched because the EDR prevented it. And by quarantining it, in this case, Dharma never executed on the network. So the EDR quarantined, but CyberMesh also contained it. And the AI that we have running was able to not only do its job faster with the containment, but also to let our SOC analysts know that this was happening. So we were able to take action. Everything was quarantined in minutes. And then you do the traditional ransomware cleanup because you've got the time. The AI, the cyber mesh, and the EDR allowed you that time. And you isolate the host and you initiate the cleanup. But where this showed that there was traditional readiness with having some protection for remote desktop, having the response of the cyber mesh and the EDR working together, and having the cleanup That's remediation, but we don't stop there at Bell Stratagem with just a cleanup. Our advisory services then work with the client to have a stronger posture and to have proper software governance and a strategy for remote access. And that's when the cycle starts over again. And that's when you know that you've now gone to a next level of protection. So the readiness was already having the proper solution in place, having the governance, budget, and partner to have the right protection, EDR and the mesh and orchestration and containment. The response is the entire ecosystem did what it should, and the cyber mesh contained in under 5 minutes. And then finally, remediation was not just cleaning the client out, it was to give advisory services to get them to that next level of protection. So with that real world example, what are the actions you need to consider, especially if you're doing this all in-house? Well, always have proper governance. Governance means that you know and have rules on how your network is accessed, what protection goes on your network, how your employees will be trained, that end-to-end visibility of the rules and regulations, and they are backed by best practices and industries and advisories like MITRE, so that you have a readiness that has a strong posture to begin with. And then really, you've got to look at all layers of IT, and you've got to look at the entire network and IT stack that you have and how it's going to be protected, how anything that you protect is going to be in sync, and then how AI can help you in that new model that you are dimensionally creating around your network. And then data security. Your data is your life. Your data is your reputation. And your data is critical to continuing on as an entity, as a healthcare, as a business. So it needs to take proper visibility in your governance so that you have the best in EDR, the best protection through email, through any penetration point, whether it be cloud, traditional network, remote networks. And then don't be afraid to fight fire with fire. Use leading partners and use leading manufacturers that have embraced AI responsibly, and use it to fight the threat actors, and can prove how they're using it will increase the speed of finding a threat actor even when they are using AI. And if that seems onerous or if it's a bit overwhelming, we're here to help. And Bell Stratagem can be there with you every step of the way to not only make sure you're spending budget effectively, but effectively so that you have that security posture that's necessary for your business to continue. So, summing it all up, ransomware isn't stopping. It's not even slowing down. It's probably going to be the fastest growing business model in the black market, as well as a threat that will keep evolving. And taking that into account, it's going to get faster, and threat actors will get faster, and threat actors do not have to be as educated as they used to be in order to attack with speed and efficacy. So in order to counteract that I really urge you to remember the 3 R's today of readiness, response, remediation, which remediation on a real world event that prevented ransomware from coming into your network will lead to better readiness and take you on a journey to higher levels of security posture. And choose leaders in the industry. Bell is a proven IDC leader in security. Stratagem is is the only Canadian company in Gartner's research that is mentioned. And we work together with leading manufacturers to create the cyber mesh that protects our customers. I always call it that we want to be a leader who works with leaders in the industry. So you have that trust that if we're bringing a manufacturer into the mix and a vendor into conversations about how to protect your business, that we are using a proven leader that we know will work flawlessly and seamlessly with the Bell Stratagem methodology. And I want to thank everyone for your time, but I've also been very cognizant of your time to leave time open for discussion and questions. So
We have, definitely. Thank you for that, James. Very insightful. There's a couple here that came in. I'll ask one from Mr. Denny Denny Roy. In your opinion, do we know why we are second as a target for ransomware?
I think it's proximity to number one, which is the United States, but threat actors also know that we have the most and closest US branches of companies. If there is a US presence of a business, especially in security, cloud, even manufacturing, there's a Canadian equivalent. And knowing that, then they're going to target not only those American companies that are in Canada, but look for the Canadian equivalent as well. It's just an easy spread for them, for the threat actors to do. And we're in proximity to the number one nation that they're already attacking.
Got it. Okay. Next question from Brent Fawcett. RDP exposed to the internet? That was his question or comment.
Yes, it was. That's all I can say is it's a real world example, but it was discovered that this was a change initiated by the client, and it ended up having RDP exposed to the internet.
Got it. All right. Next question coming in here is from Hazel Boson. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, Boson. What would you recommend for non-for-profit organizations that have limited, resources to invest in ransomware attacks?
Good question. If you have limited budget, look into MSSPs that can do it all for you. And have a conversation with a Bell Stratagem rep if you have one in your area, one assigned to your account. We can help there. If budgets are even more constrained, then the two key things I always say is number one, protect your critical data. And that comes in the way of firewalls to the outside. Everyone's got one. They're a table stake, but just make sure that you've got a modern firewall that is getting modern updates, and it isn't a stale firewall from out of support and not getting any vulnerability updates anymore. However, what is key and what I can't stress enough is to have a leader in endpoint detection response, EDR, on all your critical data. That's every desktop and every server, wherever critical data is stored. That is key. If you've got a leader, then they've got the right quarantine, the right detection, the right AI, so that when the ransomware tries to drop its payload, it can't get through the front door.
Great answer. Thank you, Hazel, for that. Another question here is from Lukman Adio. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Please my apologies if I didn't. But Lukman asks, the golden question has always been to pay or not to pay. What is your opinion? And are there strategies to ensure compliance with ransom agreements? Good question.
I personally, and not only myself as an expert, but definitely have documentation to back this up. I would rather spend the money on incident response than pay the ransom. And that could mean, if budget allows, on top of what I mentioned for EDR, readiness is having a response retainer with someone, or threat hunters that do incident response as part of that MSSP service. It comes at a price. The retainer is insurance that you pay every year, but if ransomware takes hold, if your screens are all blocked with the threat and the hostage taking that's in place, then having an incident response team come in that's trained, they can clean you out, and hopefully with their threat hunting, know if you were exfiltrated, and even help find out through the means that it happened what organization or as a service or criminal organization was responsible. It at least allows you to know what you don't know, and you're back in business by having a real white hat organization come and clean you out properly. And that way you're not paying a ransom. Is there a secondary payload you don't know about waiting to go off? Are they going to do it again? Have they sold all of your information on the black market, even when they crossed their fingers and said they wouldn't when you paid them? Things to
Got it.
consider.
Of course. Another question around the same thing. From Manil. Manil. If you pay the thieves to go out of the house but never close the door, you are bound to be robbed. I'm just going to say
Yep.
a statement. If you pay the thieves to go out of the house but never close the door, you're bound to be robbed. It's a great statement, Manil.
Yep. That is a very good analogy.
Yeah, thank you for that. A couple more questions here. Considering the increasing sophistication of ransomware attacks, what's the single most important step individuals can take to protect themselves? The single most important thing.
So you've only got budget and you got to do one thing.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's an EDR.
Okay.
It's smart. They're smarter than most organizations are. They know what they're doing. If you get a leader and you've got everything locked down, it can't stop there. But if it's limited budget right now, your data is protected. And it's being updated if you have proper support contracts with a leader. Leaders include that. So there's a cloud console where you can see all the endpoints, know if there's any that are corrupted or offline due to an update didn't take. So you can see all that and correct that. And then it really shouldn't stop there. Work with an MSSP to see if you can make the most of your budget. Work with visibility tools and automation when you have the budget, if you have to go that way. But honestly, with limited budget and today's sophistication, EDR is key to protect you right now, but then look for a partner that is an expert, but also has value in the monthly fee that you'll be paying.
Okay. This is more my question. I think a lot of people are saying the same thing, so I'm just going to pull it into one. How can we better educate ourselves and others on our teams to avoid falling victim?
So webinars like this are great, and working with your partners to have one-on-one advisory services. is key. There are also organizations out there that work to gamify experience for basically the employees of the workforce at a business in order to have them learn more about anti-phishing and how to protect themselves from social engineering. And there's points, and they get to have a score and try to get the top score. And e-learning for cybersecurity is good that way, on to ready everyone at your organization, not just security, on how to protect themselves. That's great. And then for the security experts, any advisory services that are in your budget, webinars, training offered by leading manufacturers as well. Vendors will offer training about the latest in SASE, the latest in visibility tools, threat intelligence, etc. It's a matter of always staying trained. And if that training is overwhelming for a very small force, well, again, use that budget to look for a partner that can help you with the day-to-day, protect you so that your small security team can work on governance projects and the future.
Right on. Good answer for that. I think, my friend, that is the last question here. Let me see the secondary window. Yes, we are all good. All the questions have been answered. Thanks, James.
Great. I'm going to stop sharing.
Okay. Well, this has been great. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time out of your day to join us. It's always a pleasure to go over these topics. We're going to make sure that we have these items for you all post-event. And stay tuned. We have another one coming up next month, our next webinar. And if you have any questions in the meantime, please don't hesitate to reach out. It'll be a pleasure to speak with you. Have a wonderful afternoon, and I'll give you back 6 minutes in your day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you soon. Bye-bye.